Hey guys, welcome to ActualizeMen. Carl here. Happy New Year. It's 2024. It's going to be a wild year. So let's start with something interesting. The rites of passage, the call to adventure. So back in the times of more indigenous people, the rites of passage for masculine consciousness were built around the fact that they understood that the journey to adulthood for women was largely biological and hormonal. Okay, so a woman knows when she's a woman when her moon cycle starts. But masculine consciousness had to undergo a journey. It had to undergo a separation from mother, the cocoon, the womb, right? And enter into the world of men. So, like for example, the men in the tribe one night would get into their battle gear and literally kidnap the boy from mother in the middle of the night, and he's scared shitless, and the women are wailing and screaming, and they're all in on it because what they're commemorating is that the passing of the boy. Okay, and they take the boy out into the wilderness and they teach him how to hunt and give him responsibility, and he's developing competency. He's developing his place among men, a man among men. And then there's a test that he has to undergo. And once he's passed that test, he comes back. There's a big homecoming. And even now, his mother no longer relates to him as a boy. Now he's a man. Now he might get married. Now he has a responsibility to the tribe. We've lost this in Western culture. We've completely lost this and everything that comes with it. And the result is that we have a lot of adult boys who are still attached to their mother. They could be well into their adult years, 30s, 40s, 50s, but on some level, there are aspects to themselves that are still kind of on the launch pad. They haven't made that transition from the world of woman fully over to the world of men. And the result is that they are still heavily controlled by the world of woman. Okay, and we're going to talk about this in future videos. The world is woman. The world is feminine, and I'm talking more in a primordial sort of a way. It's the reason they call it Mother Earth. And when the boy is sort of growing up, he's in the confine and the comfort, the womb space, if you will, of the oversight from mother. But in order to make that transition into adult masculinity, he has to separate from mother. That's the call to adventure, right? And it's terrifying because it's a complete unknown. And so the beginning of that hero's journey, if you will, is something that historically was intentionally done at around age 10, 12, 14, thereabouts. But what is happening in the West is that this is not being taken care of at all. And it's in some ways it's being repressed, so that initiation comes oftentimes through crisis. It might be a divorce. It might be an illness or a loss of a job. It might be this underlying depression, even though on the surface, the text of your life looks absolutely fantastic, but the subtext is that you're miserable. The subtext is that something isn't right. You're not entirely happy and satisfied. And what's happening in the superficial aspects of your life isn't doing it for you, right? It doesn't matter how much money you make, how great your job is, how many women you're sleeping with, right? That stuff is like empty calories because underneath that something isn't right. You haven't fully initiated into the world of men. It was really interesting. I did a number of men's work experiences starting back in 2016. And looking back, it was the first time in my life that I had been held accountable without criticism, blame, or shame. Just sit with that for a moment. I'm sure that a lot of you have experienced accountability, but there's been a hint of criticism, blame, or shame. but it hasn't been for the purpose of holding you accountable, holding you to your highest level of conduct and your highest integrity. Well, that's an aspect of initiation, is that doing what you say, saying what you'll do, the alignment of word and action is where you become trustworthy. Okay? These are all aspects of the masculine journey that are done separate from the world of woman. And the danger is, if we stay kind of in the world of woman, is the Peter Pan syndrome, right? The per eternus. That's what ends up happening, is that actually we're resisting initiating. We're resisting that journey into the adventure of manhood. And we're actually invested in staying a child and being looked after. These are the kinds of men that show up like this they're called simps or white knights or the nice guy. These men are actually very, very, very dangerous because they are not honest. They're not honest with themselves. Okay? They have actually resisted the call to adventure. They've resisted showing up and being a man among men. In fact, they don't like men very much. On some level, there's a rejection of father with those men. And so they sort of say to themselves, well, I don't want to go. I'd much rather be looked after. I'd much rather be cared for, right? And on some level, these men are resisting the birth. And that's what happens. That's what happens, is that, if there is no rites of passage helping men make the transition into the world of men among men, then what will happen is these men are still heavily controlled by the world of woman in their psyche. And what I mean by that there are different faces to woman that we have in our minds, right? There's mother, there's lover, there's goddess, there's virgin, there's whore, there's the Kali, the destroyer, there's Medusa. We as men have a relationship with every single face of woman, and it's all in our mind, right? And a lot of it could be unconscious. And it really behooves us, if we're going to fully show up in relationship, not only with life, but with a woman, then we have to deal with this relationship that we have with each of these faces of woman and bring it out into the light so that it's not subconscious. It's not kind of running the show from the shadows. Okay? I know I threw a lot at you here, and we're going to explore a lot of the aspects of this because I believe it's so important to really honor and acknowledge the power that woman has in our psyche as men. Because what ends up happening is, if we don't even acknowledge that, we are kind of covertly defending against it. We're avoiding it, defending against it, trying to control it. And then we think we're doing great, right? That's how our ego is constructed. And then that's what I'm talking about. The divorce happens, or the loss happens, or the illness happens, and it all comes crashing down. And that's why that's often so devastating for men, is because they've built a life in defense of these different relationships of women because of the power that woman has in the psyche of a man. Okay? So the rites of passage that I talked about really helped men to cleave from the influence of mother, from the influence of the tribe, and to completely separate and be in the proverbial desert or the proverbial wilderness, where that boy starts to cultivate his competency, starts to cultivate his discipline, his focus, his skill, okay, starts to learn things like honor and integrity in the face of other men, accountability. These are the lifeblood of the masculine, right? Your discipline, your personal accountability, this is critical for you as a man. It's actually self-love. But you first have to learn what it is by being around other men. And there are a lot of men who have very little contact, very little intentional initiation and intentional brotherhood with other men who are helping them show up in their highest kind of timeline, if you will, their highest power, right? And that was the purpose of the initiation rituals, the initiation rites for masculine consciousness, because the masculine consciousness must take this journey that separates from mother and enters the world of men. Okay? It's when we do this that we then can return to the world of woman, having claimed our own identity, our own selfhood, our own autonomy. Now, in the West, as I said, we've really lost that. There are a few areas where we can go and we can experience a piece of intentional initiation. But we're going to talk more about this here on this channel. We're going to explore a lot of this journey and how it accesses the different aspects of what healthy initiation rituals accomplish, so that you can have more of an idea. But ultimately, there's no substitute for actually going through some kind of ritualized practice. But for now, I just wanted to talk about these different aspects that initiation rituals deal with, to put it on your radar screen, okay? Because it's part of your maturation as a man. So happy 2024. I'm looking forward to an amazing year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.